Let each one teach one about the symbols of Kwanzaa. Let each one reach one, get the word, pass it on. Let each one teach one about the symbols of Kwanzaa. Let each one reach one, get the word, pass it on. Mkeka, the straw mat, our history, our legacy. Mkeka, our foundation, self-knowledge, self-determination. Kikombe, cha Umoja, our unity cup. We use it to pour libations and to raise our unity up. Let each one teach one about the symbols of Kwanzaa. Let each one reach one, get the word, pass it on. Let each one teach.
Okay, so we're going to talk about really how you can take these 7 principles of Kwanzaa. Who remembers the name? What are the 7 principles called? It's a Kiswahili word.
Alodia, purpose, Kujikapalia, Imani.
You got a lot of them. Now all 7 of them together, there's a name for them. What are they called?
Dia means purpose.
No, she's not.
The Nguza Saba. The Nguza Saba. That is all 7 of them. So right, and there's ways in which we incorporate these 7 principles into our life. And many of you are doing it already, but you're just not potentially thinking about how they're actually done. So I get the computer set up. I'm going to pass the mic to my husband, Brother Umoja. So please welcome Brother Umoja.
Hotel. And I say to you, Habaragani? And the response is?
Habaragani Ujima.
Ujima Habaragani.
Thank you. As my wife said, one thing I do when we do Kwanzaa, I tell people I don't celebrate the principles, I am the principles.
Amen.
Okay? I live it every day of my life, 365 days. It is who I am. And when I say that, I explain to the people I'm talking to, you've been doing it, your parents been doing it, your grandparents been doing it. And people say, what are you talking about? Kwanzaa started in 1966. The words we use now, the African words that Dr. Karenga gave us in 1966 is true. But if we think back, we've been doing Kwanzaa for thousands of years. Kwanzaa is who we are. You and your parents and your grandparents called it what? Neighbor helping neighbor. If you look at the 7 principles, starting with Umoja all the way to Imani, we did it back in Africa. We did it through segregation. We were forced to do it through segregation. We were forced to do Umoja, unity. We were forced to do Kuchichak. We had to speak for ourselves and do for ourselves. We were forced to do Ujima, collective work and responsibility. We were forced to do Ujama. We were forced to buy with each other because we couldn't go downtown and buy. Right? You all know what I'm talking about. Right? So Kwanzaa and the 7 principles is actually who we are as a people. Think about it. Think about what you've done through your life. In the 50s and the 60s, I was born in 61, so before me, I heard the stories by my mother and by my grandparents saying, when we drove from the north to the south, we had a list of where to stop, right? Because to be safe. And when we got there, what did we do? We called home and said, Mama, we're here now, right? That was Ujima, collective work and responsibility. And then when we got to the next spot, we called and said, we're over here now. That was collective work. And when we got there, what did we do? We spent money with our own. So we did Ujama, cooperative economics. And then we had a purpose why we did that, right? And we created our own. We did Kuumba, creativity. And we all had Imani, faith. So when you think about the 7 principles of Kwanzaa, think about your life. Think about your parents and your grandparents. You all did it We just didn't call it Nguzo Saba. We just didn't call it those African words. So when Dr. Karenga in 1960, he looked at what we were doing. He said, you know what? Let's now give it back to the continent. Let's go back to the continent and let's put our play on the words. Just take our words and rename it for who we are and where we came from. So Dr. Karenga just took what we were doing already, took our culture, and gave it back the words. So when you say Umoja, unity, we did unity. We always did unity. Think about it. In Africa, if you look at the African villages, how was the homes built? How was the home set up in Africa? In a circle. Because you know what? We teach each other. We helped each other. We were a community. That's why they were in a circle. And the children did what? They played where? Inside the circle. So the elders kept an eye on the children. We did that for thousands and thousands of years. So when people look at us, they see the Nguzo Saba. So that's why I tell people I am the Nguzo Saba. I just don't practice, I am it. Because everyone in this room, you all left it from me. Okay? You are my spiritual parents. So I thank you all for doing the Nguzo Saba for all these years. You just didn't call it that. You just call it neighbor helping neighbor. See, I was born in the Caribbean. And when in the Caribbean, that's what we did. I remember my grandmother just tell me, stay in the yard and play. They used to keep an eye on me, right? And when I came up, I went to school in Alabama. And I heard the same thing. I saw the same principles with the people in Alabama when I was in Huntsville, Alabama. And I used to go up into the woods, go up into the countryside in Alabama, in northern Alabama. They used to say things that I heard my grandmother told me when I was growing up in the Caribbean. So that has told me, again, that's Ujima, collective work and responsibility. We have collectively done these things with a responsibility, understanding that you all wanted to make sure I was better than you. Everyone in this room did something so my generation can do what? Be better than the generation you all have. Yes. And I do the same thing with my son. I work hard with him so that way he could have it better than me. Right? That is what you all call, we call that what? We call that legacy. We pass a legacy on. Dr. King left us a legacy to build on. Right? When we have the imani, the faith to believe that we can do better, that we will be better, and we tell our children that. How many of you tell your grandchildren, your children that? I want you to be better than me. I want you to have a better life than me, right? So you're passing a legacy on. And that's Nguzo Saba. If you think about the 7 words, the 7 principles, think about it. Everyone in here has done it from they were a little person. We just didn't call it Nguzo Saba, we just called it neighbor helping neighbor. Because how many of y'all took your children and left them next door while you went to work? Anyone ever did that when you're growing up? You know, you had your children, you left your children next door with the elder next door?
Yes.
That's Ujima, right? Collective work and responsibility. We collectively work together in our community to help it be better. And when you came home from work, you came home and you worked with your children. You went to work to do what? To make money. Yes. Ujama, cooperative economics. And some of y'all grew up in a segregated country where y'all could not go downtown and shop. Or y'all did not want to go downtown and shop. Okay?
That's better. Yes.
Yes. So when we talk about Ujama, cooperative economics, taking the dollars in your pocket and helping your community be stronger, that's what you all did. So what my wife and I do, we connect the dots to what we did thousands of years to what we do today. It's the same thing with your cars. 20, 30 years ago, we didn't have SUVs, did we? But we still had vehicles. We had station wagons. But now we call them SUVs and cross, right?
Yes.
So Dr. Gray did the same thing. 100 years ago, we didn't have Nguzo Saba. We had neighbor helping neighbor. So he just called it Nguzo Saba now. So it's the same thing. So I'm going to turn the mic back over to my wife. I just want you all to think about that when you think about Nguzo Saba and Kwanzaa, okay? Thank you.
You know, the teacher, I'm a former teacher, elementary and middle school teacher, and I'm also a college professor, so the teacher in me gets activated all the time. And so, as Brother Umoja was going, I'm trying to see, yes, they're up here. So, Umoja is unity. And I want to find out from some people in the audience, how do you practice that principle? How do you practice that principle of unity?
Helping other people.
Helping other people.
I try keeping my children, my grandchildren, and me, my sisters, and their children, and like, close, unity.
So keeping that family close.
The way we grew up.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Keeping the family close the way that you grew up. Because I know a lot of times I hear people complain that the community is not like it used to be. And so it's a matter of bringing back those pieces of the community that are now missing. Because I think in some situations, the statement that you threw the baby out with the bathwater, that there's some aspects of community that are needed in order for us to be successful. I think about my parents who are much older now, and they need assistance by, many times they'll say, what is it? It takes a village to raise a child, but the reality is it takes a village to take care of the village. And so oftentimes it's not just myself or my brothers or our spouses who are helping to take care of the family, but it's also the friends, it's also the neighbors, it's everyone working together using this principle of Umoja, that principle of unity, in order for all of us to move successfully through this thing called life. When you look at the second one, which is my favorite one, and I remember the first time I learned it, I said, what in the world is that word? And how am I supposed to say that? And Kuji Chakalia, who knew that that would become my favorite word 20 years later? And it's about what it means. It's that self-determination. And I think about myself as young as 5. I always say 5 is kind of like my earliest memories. Being so self-determined to do things. Now, there's stories of me being 2 and 3. They call it bossy, but I call it self-determination because I was determined to do things a certain way. And part of that is defining yourself for yourself. And we do it in a lot of different ways. We do it in the way that we dress. We do it in the way that we wear our hair. We do it in the way that we speak. We do it in the jobs that we choose to have. We do it in the relationships that we choose to have. That self-determination shows itself in so many ways. Who can give me some examples of how you utilize that principle of self-determination?
Say, for instance, like something's in the house broken or whatever, and I say, well, I'm going to tinker with this for a while and try to get, I'm not going to let this object outdo me, and I keep working with it until I get it working.
So she said if there's an object broken in the house, she will keep tinkering with it until she can get it to work some kind of way, huh? She said she will not let that object get the best of her. And I'm very similar, where I will have people actually say, this is broken, but I'm going to wait until Kathleen comes because, well, it's broken anyway, so it's either going to go one way or the other. Either she's going to fix it or we just going to get rid of it.
Right.
And so it's that principle of self-determination that's activated, that kicks in. And who here has ever had somebody say something negative about them? Exactly. I see them fingers. And then you have to determine, are you going to allow that to be how people refer to you?
You have to prove them wrong.
You have to prove them wrong. Or even more so, you got to prove yourself right. Right? Because you have to be truly who you are. And that's that self-determination kicking in. Our third one is we have Uccn, collective work and responsibility. And Brother Umoja talked about that. And how we take care. How many people here take care, you already mentioned you take care of your family. And how many other people take care of their grands, nieces, nephews? You become a daycare that you didn't know you were going to be. Children, your sons, right, daughters, all of that. All right, it's that collective work and responsibility. I remember very clearly going next door to Mr. and Mrs. Nelson's house when I got out of school because my parents weren't home. What they call those like latchkey kids, and I didn't find out until I was good and grown that my mother had been buying the snacks that we would eat when we were over there. But we would only eat the snacks at Mr. and Mrs. Nelson's house because they tasted so good. My mother would buy the same thing for our house and we wouldn't touch them. And we're like, they don't taste as good. Then finally when we got into our 30s and 40s, she said, by the way, I was the one buying the snacks. But again, it was that collective work and responsibility to help raise us. And all of those people imparted into our lives so that now I can stand here before you today. The next one is the cooperative economics. This right here that I'm wearing is done by a woman named Gracie. Gracie is a vendor. She makes her own clothes. Okay? So when we talk about supporting each other, how many people here make things that they sell? What type of stuff do you make?
I do bracelets.
All right.
Sometimes drawings and stuff.
Oh, not who here knew that she did bracelets and drawings? A few people? Well, everybody knows now. Okay. I saw another hand go up. Who else? You make hats? Oh, are you pointing to one now? Yes, I am. Would you like to get up and model it for us? We can do a runway. You can do your hat and you can do your bracelet. And y'all can sashay. Come on.
Very nice.
I can't do too much sashaying, but I can.
You can wiggle in place. Okay.
I can let them see.
There you go.
Very nice.
Very nice. Very nice. Yes. Because so many times we have what we need in the community, but if we don't know that it's there, we end up going where? Somewhere else to get the things that we need. But by doing the cooperative economics, we can then support those who are right here with us. All right? Then, of course, we move into NIA, which is purpose, number 5. How many people think that it's important to live on purpose? Why? Why?
Self-sufficient.
If you have purpose, you have hope. Why else?
Self-sufficient.
Being self-sufficient. Why else? When you're on purpose, do you inspire other people to be on purpose as well? Hopefully. Exactly. So it's important that we recognize our purpose and that we're on purpose and that we're encouraging other people to be on purpose as well. Then we have number 6, which is Kaumba creativity. We just had a quick fashion show by 2 people showing their creativity. And we can be creative in many ways. Sometimes we just think about it in the form of the arts or being able to make jewelry or paintings or clothing. But we can be creative in our speech. How many poets do we have here? I know some of y'all are some poets. Thelma's not here. Okay. So we can be creative in the way. How many people claim that they're good cooks? Okay. You are creative in the way that you prepare your meal, the spices, the way that you plate your meal. Creativity comes out in so many different ways.
Yes, it does.
Okay. And then, of course, we have number 7, which is Imani faith. And how many people would say it's important to have faith?
Okay. Absolutely gotta get it.
How come? Why is faith so important?
It gives you a reason to move on.
It gives you a reason to move on, a reason to live. It also gives you hope. Say it again. Hope. Yes.
It gives me strength.
It gives you strength.
It gives you the power to know that you are somebody.
Yes. Gives you the power to know that you are somebody. And so as we're talking, can you start to see how they're all intertwined? And so how that Imani activates that Nia. And that Nia activates that Imani. And that Nia, that purpose, also activates that Kaumba, that creativity. And so it all starts, the cooperative economics and collective responsibility shows forth in the unity, in the Umoja. It's all working together. It's just a matter of us working it. All right.
Excellent.
Thank you so much for your time. Enjoy your day. Habaragani.
Baragani Ujima.
Ujima. Yes. Happy Kwanzaa, everyone, and Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Baragani, Nguzo Saba, Baragani, the 7 days of Kwanzaa, Baragani, Nguzo Saba, Baragani.